is one of, I think, our more
Heavier.
heavier ones, and I know it hits very close to home for both of us, but also with people around us and what we've witnessed. So, my question to you, just off the bat, is when did you realize you were in a toxic work environment or experiencing toxic work culture? And when did you then, after that, realize it was affecting your mental health?
I think one of the biggest signs for me was that Sunday dread, that pit in your tummy where you're like, I don't actually want to get up and go to work tomorrow. Like I can't see myself getting through another week of this. I think that was for me the first like sign that I possibly ignored from my body telling me that it obviously wasn't a place for me or a safe place that promoted my growth and that actually valued me as an individual and not a number. So I think that was probably, if I'm being honest, one of the first ones I got. And it was very earlier on in my career. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I also experienced that. I think for me, it's when I would bring that feeling that I was experiencing at work into my home. And it's like work supposedly finished at 5.
Yes.
But we were still working such long hours, sacrificing simple things like dinner time, or personal time. And most of my conversations, and let's be honest, it's with you or my family or anyone that was close to me, revolved around work. We never actually spoke about anything else. Like every call was like, I'm so frustrated, or we're crying, or we're angry, or we're trying to rationalize why we're in the situation and what's happening to us. And we would call each other, you and I, alone. I think like probably 6-7 times a day.
Yeah.
Because we couldn't understand what the hell was going on.
Yeah. And it was just to like for somebody to validate your emotions and walk you through whatever experience it was in a very diplomatic way, so that when we responded having thought about it and we didn't act like on impulse. But to take it like back, I think what was difficult for me, and I think for you as well, being like high performers coming out of university into the work life, is you want to do your best. You want to give off your best, and you want to show that you're obviously capable to put in the hard work when it's needed. But I think the system is such that it grabs onto people like that, and it almost becomes an expectation for us to work more than 8 hours. Like if you're working less, or you put up a boundary to say like, I'm done with my 8 hours, or like I have commitments, I feel that it's two ways about it. One was I was too scared to do it, of how I was going to be perceived. And the other one is that people would push back, and I didn't know how to deal with that pushback. I would like say, okay, no, it's fine, I'll figure it out. At the inconvenience of me, at the expense of time with myself, time with my partner, time with my family. And for me, it was like, it starts off like so small. Like, okay, no, I'm just gonna do like 2 hours extra because we're like really pushing on this proposal, or we're like really doing this. And then suddenly you realize you're in this rut where you living to work, and it's like a slow degradation of who you are as a person. And it's like it's so silent, but I feel like only when you reach the point of burnout do you realize like what you've put yourself through both emotionally and physically, because you get to a point where you can't do it any longer.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like so many people experience that, and especially earlier on in your career in like these high performing jobs, I don't think there's enough tools. I don't think people are vocal enough about it, because we also have an obsession with hustle culture and like, oh, we need to get up at like 5 a.m. club and do this and do that and like go to work, and then after work go to gym and then work again, and then it's so toxic.
Mm-hmm.
It's so toxic. It doesn't. I really battle with it, because I do think that you should have drive and ambition, but I also feel in life there should be a balance, and we should be listening to our bodies, because how are we showing up in any like aspect of our life at 100% if we are running on empty?
No, I fully agree. I fully agree with you. That's the word balance. Like everyone says there needs to be work-life balance, and now there's this thing of work-life integration.
Okay.
But just touching on what you said, like there's this hustle culture. I found by being in a toxic work environment that things like the gym should be a priority because it's my health, or getting outside and feeling the sun on your skin and going for a walk with your partner, with your dog, or whatever, and just like embracing life. I can remember being in this rut with you, and there's days where I don't even leave home.
Yep.
And then you
Or
walk
you
outside.
haven't even stepped outside the door.
Yes. And then when you eventually do and you look up at the sky and you're like, whoa, like there's something so much bigger
Yes.
at play here.
Yes.
But here I am in this rat race because I feel forced.
Yeah.
And talking about being a high performer and this high performing culture that's praised, right? You do not have to be at 200%, 365 days a year for you to be a high performer. I will emphasize, are human beings.
Yeah.
And we fluctuate. There's so much more to us as people than just our jobs and our careers. And I went to Italy last year, and I was with my mom's sister and her husband, who's Italian, and spending time with like their family and seeing the culture around how they view life is so different, because we were together for almost a month, I would say, and nobody spoke about work. Nobody spoke about work. Nobody even asked. And we were meeting some of like my uncle's nephews for the first time and all of those things. Nobody asked like, what do you do? What are you? What did you study?
Where do you work?
Yes, where do you work? Like, it was, people spoke about like what they did for fun, what their hobbies were, where they traveled. And I guess to an extent that might be a Western culture, because I guess on certain platforms they were privileged.
Privilege, yeah, I was about to say.
And I do acknowledge that.
Yeah.
But here, if you put the extra mile, or what I have found, and maybe that's my personal truth, I know it's the same for you, is when you put in the extra work, that then becomes your benchmark.
Yeah.
So if you are performing at 400% and you slip to 100% as a high achiever or top performer because there's a death in your family, or because
you had a fight with your partner, it doesn't even have to.
Sick.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Then you are considered as, oh, you're slacking.
Yes.
Or you're dropping the ball. And it is not sustainable.
It's really not. It's really not. And the thing for me is attributing so much of my self-worth to my outputs at work.
Yeah.
And I think especially when we do like performance reviews,
Mhm.
I had to make a conscious effort to teach myself
Mhm.
that you are literally reviewing my ability on one level. It does not it doesn't mean I'm a bad person. It doesn't make me a bad partner. It doesn't make me a bad friend. It's literally work.
Mhm.
And it shouldn't define how you view yourself.
Mhm.
Like you said, we all can't be functioning at 100% all the time. Like if you're showing up and you're doing what you are meant to be doing, great. Sometimes you can show up and you have enough energy to give off like even more and take initiative in other aspects, and sometimes you don't. And that's just life. But I feel like you get so um bullied sometimes because people expect that 400% that you're talking about consistently all the time, and it's not possible because we're human. We're not robots. And I feel like the ability of people maybe higher up to have some sort of emotional intelligence and lead with empathy is such a strange seems to be such a strange concept because there's only been a handful of people that I've met. And interesting enough, I saw something on I think it was Instagram or TikTok, like the CEO of Chanel. She was saying that her manner in which she leads is purely from empathy and caring for her employees. She said it was like around like 40,000 employees. She said out of 40,000, she knows 30,000 of her employees by name, face, and their backstory. Because she said that's the culture that in leadership that she's trying to promote, which I think for me is severely lacking. And
Or
it's
non-existent.
yeah, and it's something that we need to be driving more and holding people accountable to, because yes, we understand it's a business, and I understand that there's like targets to be met and like high quality work, but if you are truly care about people and you nurture people for where they are at that point in time, yes, people are going to want to give 100 or even 200% to you because you're showing them that you care about them. So to me, I think it would make people more efficient and would make people more loyal and buy into this we are family scenario that people like love to slap on anything. But I feel like it's such a heavy one. It's such a heavy one for us because I know that being in those environments can absolutely destroy your mental health. Like rip it to shreds. And here you are, and your family has to bear the brunt of that. Your partner has to bear the brunt of that because they're trying to fix something that they didn't break. And you're trying to also hold down a job, but like not coping. So that's why when we started the podcast and we mentioned those stories, I think we need to be honest about our experiences at work, whether you're working for like the biggest law firm or the smallest like boutique consulting firm. Be honest about your experience and share with people so people don't feel alone, and that you actually are validating your colleagues in your circle and providing some sort of support to them if it's not offered in leadership. Because even as you go up the rank, right, at work, and you become like a bit more senior and there's people under you, I am, because I know what was done to me, I am so careful in how I provide feedback, in how I speak to people, in how I ask for assistance in things, in getting their opinion about things, because that for most of my career, it wasn't given to me. And the amount of times I cried over work, oh my God, like bawling tears. And I feel like the motto I live by now, because in that like time when you start, and there's like, oh, we have this project, it's due on like this, and you have to work the weekend, and
Like it's life or death.
yes, don't you feel like it's life or death at that moment?
Yes.
And I used to get so stressed out to the point to the point where I would feel physically sick
Sick.
in my tummy because of stress,
Mm-hmm.
and to the point where I'd go to bed, but my mind is still active. Like I'm fully thinking about that project and I'm thinking about things that could go wrong, and then I'm waking up, like going to bed in an anxious state, waking up in an anxious state, still functioning for 8 to 16 hours depending on the day. And I'm just like, we're saving PDFs. We're not saving lives. Nobody's going to die. So I don't know if you can speak more about how it was for you and maybe some insight in like how you managed. Because I don't think we're all the way out of it.
Yes.
But what have we been doing differently that has been allowing us? And the thing is, we're not complaining to say you need to slack at your job. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying if we're working for 8 hours, I'm giving you my 100, sometimes 200% at work, and it's 8 hours. I understand like there's sometimes proposals that pop up, like what, but if it's once in a while, sure, I can put in the shift. But the expectation of that to do it consistently over and over again, I think is so detrimental. So how do you still show up at work as a high performer? Because I think it's just our personality, and I think we take a lot of pride in our work. How do we still show up like that, but also have boundaries that protect us and protect our mental health, but still also give us space to flourish in other aspects of our life?
Look, if I'm being honest, I'm still figuring it out
Yeah.
because I still find myself falling into those habits, and a lot of it comes from a place of fear.
Right.
So just tracking back to you talking about leading with empathy, right? When people get jobs, I'm pretty sure if people could not be in a corporate environment unless that's something that you really want to do. Someone would rather be on a beach somewhere, like sipping a cocktail. Okay, like
True.
let's be honest.
True.
People go to work because you are conditioned that you need to finish school, get a degree, get a job, but then you also need to do it because you need to start a life, you need to start a family, you have bills to pay, you have all of these things to do, right? Apart from like your personal sort of drive and goals and ambitions. And we need money
That's
to do that,
Yeah.
right? Fundamentally. You can't even get the best healthcare if you don't have money.
Yeah.
So when you talk about leading with empathy, I do not think anyone at their core walks into a work environment and wants to slack
Yeah.
because they know that it will ultimately lead them to losing their job. Okay, and then that's going to be a predicament. If people are slacking for whatever reason, or your perception of what you think slacking is, right? It is because there's underlying issues. And that leading with empathy, if you could understand, and I love Simon Sinek for this because I could watch him for hours because he has such profound insight and information. And what makes my blood boil is that in these corporate environments, when you're in training, all of these things are being played for you. Okay?
Work-life balance. We care.
Right? We care, we thus worry
We're
about
here for
where
you.
exactly. But are you actually practicing it as a leader?
No.
There's leaders that are going for leadership lounges. Okay, and how to be a better this and how to be a better that. But the truth is, and I think you're the one that sent this to me, where they said 1 in every 5 people or leaders at work are narcissists, which is the same rate as that of people in prison.
Yeah.
A psycho, a psychopaths. That was the stat. It was psychopaths. It wasn't
And this
even
is not us
narcissists.
making it up, right? It's
Yes.
like it was a study.
Yes.
We're not like pulling things from.
I should actually find it.
It's like we're not pulling things from the air.
I should probably find it in our chat.
Yeah.
But we'll definitely link the study,
I think so.
to the podcast.
Yes.
But that shocked me. And this concept that people higher up don't lie, don't misconstrue the truth,
are putting in the shift.
Yes.
Like you are.
Yes.
As the worker bee.
It's all the pressure is like on your junior staff, and we experience this, right? Where a manager sends you something the morning of to do, okay? They have so many projects to work on, and that's why, like, please understand. Oh, they're going through this, or they're this, or they're pregnant, or this, or that, okay? But when it comes to you saying, look, I just had someone die in my family, and I need more time to get this out because I'm dealing with this, or I'm dealing with that. It's, that's the corporate life. That's just the nature of...
The thing, you know what I love is that there's a workforce that is coming in now.
Cult, you meant to say cult.
No. The workforce that is coming in now, the younger generation, that are so different. I think we like in the middle. We like a mix up of what our parents are with that hard work ethic and wanting to show up and being respectful and just wanting to be good employees, to have that loyalty to a company. But I feel like that's non-existent any longer.
Right.
And then we're also a mix of don't you think you have, like, don't ever think you have authority to disrespect me because I will like leave. And I think what's so telling about that is people in leadership positions think that because you were managed by whoever that put you through this means you need to put me through that. Whether it impacted you negatively or not, and then your fallback is, oh, this is the corporate work. Like,
no, that's also gaslighting. We actively got gaslit to say, oh, back in the day, we got sworn at. Or we, now it's much. But then does that mean, for example, if your parent abused you or hit you as a form of punishment, that you now as a parent need to also hit your child? No. We evolve and we grow. And I feel like we're being punished still for people not dealing with their personal issues and then also bringing it into the work environment. Because I also feel like if you feel you are stifled at home, you don't have authority at home or whatever, you come to the office, which is the same as like bullies in school.
Hurt people.
Yes.
100%.
And I wanted to speak about this, and I am going to speak about this at a later stage, but what we experienced, I then simultaneously experienced my partner going through bullying and harassment at work. And it was such a... I don't want to cry.
It's okay. It's okay. I feel like sometimes people don't understand the impact it has in your home life.
Yeah.
And yeah, for you to see it happening to someone you love.
Yeah.
Because I think you can stick it if it's yourself, right?
Yeah.
But to see someone you love and you also being in the same shoes, so knowing what that feels like, and then watching them experience that, I think is just like heartbreaking.
Yeah. Yeah. The fight that we had to put up as a unit and as a family. And I think what was so difficult was like and seeing him go through it, where it was like, does he deserve this? And knowing that, like, this person is the most is probably more hardworking than me or anyone that I know put together, is being bashed by another person to the point that they were in hospital, had to go see a psychiatrist, be put on medication, lost, I think it was 12 kilos, 12 to 15 kilos, okay, in the space of a couple of months, right? Pleading with work that I'm seeing my partner deteriorate in front of me. I'm the one that's rushing them to hospital. And because this person was a narcissistic director, and because of the title, it was like their word was taken over what was actually happening. And then I absolutely love how when you speak up, oh, when you speak up,
and let's not forget how much courage
it takes to even do that. Because
when you're making the conscious decision to speak up, you're also taking the risk that you're going to lose your job.
Yes.
And it's at a point where you can't, like, there's no other choice you can make.
Yes. Yes.
So the fact that somebody has the courage to do that alone, knowing that you're putting your job at risk, taking like food off your table.
Yes.
That is enough, should tell you something big is going on.
Yes. But, and I've posted about this.
Yeah.
Where when you do speak up, it then becomes an issue of, oh, that's an underperformer. That person's not performing. That's why they're complaining. Yet in my partner's case, it was his entire team left. He was the only one doing multiple roles and responsibilities, multiple jobs, because of that director's inability to even hire a manager to help him. Okay? Doing the manager work, sitting late at night also, like hours. Waking up at like 4 a.m. just to try to figure things out. And it's over the dumbest freaking things, Julia. Like, put the graph landscape. Oh, no, I don't like it. Change it to a portrait. Or, I don't like these colors, change it. Oh, no, change it back to this color. To the point that my partner's like,
what do you want?
Asked me to do this. I do it. Then they're telling me, do something else.
And then they say, change it back.
Like, does the output or like the bigger picture not matter?
Yeah.
And what galls me, okay, with senior people is when you write a comment, when you could have just changed it yourself. Because no matter what level you get to in an organization, I know as you grow into a leader, your people management skills is what needs to shine more than your technical ability. But you got there because of your technical ability. So 100%. You should also be able to get your hands dirty.
Yeah.
In this case with my partner, was diagnosed with depression, was diagnosed with anxiety, was, like I told you, in hospital. And I'm not going to get into the details of it now because I'm trying to keep it together.
Yeah.
But sent these doctor's notes, sent this to HR, and it was a matter of, I'm being bullied, I'm being harassed, because he was actually harassed. And then it's like, no, your director wants you to sit next to him in the office. And it was like, I don't want to be sitting next to this person because they are harassing me. Put me on another floor, put me on another anywhere.
Yeah.
Then it became, oh, you're actually underperforming, which I mentioned. Now fill in this Excel sheet of when you go to the bathroom, when you're in the office, when you clock in, when you clock out. when we're supposed to be advancing into a flexible work environment, bearing in mind, we've come out of COVID where everybody has adjusted to that flexibility, working from home, realizing you can do things without being in the office for 9 to 5, right? But now it's like this, we automatically are meant to adjust back. Also, needing to understand that some people have entered the work environment during COVID, so they don't know anything else.
Yeah.
So
That's
it's
so
also
true.
an adjustment for them. Where do we give people that grace to adjust?
Especially if you're still performing, especially if you're doing
Yes.
what you need to do.
Yes.
I don't understand why we need to micromanage
Yes.
to that level.
Yes.
If people are still showing up
Exactly.
and are still fulfilling their responsibilities, why do you need to look at them in the office for 8 hours? Like, to me, it makes no sense.
But in this case also, it brought to my, like, it brought, like, you know, when you look at something under a microscope, like I was able to see for the first time someone with a narcissistic personality. And I know that we all have narcissistic traits to an extent. But I think what tips it over to you being a narcissist is when you see someone suffering, but you winning. Or you and your little game that you're playing is more important than someone telling you,
I'm struggling.
I am struggling. I think I am like literally on the brink of, I might kill myself.
Yeah, mental breakdown.
And you still push someone and you still poke someone, then you should not be.
That's my thing. I feel like if you haven't experienced it, you may think we are exaggerating. You may think we overly emotional, because I got
Yes.
called that a number of times. And I will wear that on my chest with full pride, because I am an emotional person and I care for people and I'm not a robot. So if you say something that is disrespectful to me, of course I'm going to have an emotional response to you. But obviously with professionalism, because I know my environment. But it like shocks me to my core, because how many more suicides do we have to see in this country or even internationally? How many more like cries for help do we have to see people like go through before we understand the severity of like what we are doing to people over a job?
But I think one of the issues and why the system is broken.
Yeah, no, 100%.
I've come to that realization
100%.
that the system is broken, but big corporations don't care because as people leave, more people want to come in. And more people want to come in for the status or the prestige, or you get grads, you get all these grad cohorts coming in or whatever. So if people leave, it's fine because you've got more people coming in. So it's this constant like throw someone off a cliff. And what I want to understand or what I want to know is, when is it okay to speak up?
Yeah.
When is it okay for your family to get involved? Because and this is what I was breaking my head about last year with the whole Anna Sebastian situation, where it's too late to make a noise when you've lost your partner, you've lost your child, you've lost whoever that's close to you.
Yeah.
So do you wait for that person to die, commit suicide, succumb to some illness because of what they're dealing with at work?
And you don't understand how your body reacts to being under that amount of emotional distress. Your body will show, like, for me, I think it was prolonged because I ended up getting kidney stones.
Yes.
like last year, and was out of action for like close to 2 months because my body was like, I can't anymore. Like, why? Like, I can't with the lack of sleep, the lack of healthy food, the no gymming, the no taking, like my body gave up. And we need to understand that it's like a build-up. And that's what I'm telling you. Sometimes it's so silent, and then you can't recognize yourself because you lose so much of your self-worth, identity in that process. But I also feel like it's such a huge topic for us to cover everything in this episode.
Yes, it will
So I think, yeah, I think the essence of this episode was to touch on the importance of this topic, to ask people who are experiencing this to be honest. With
yes.
not even, we're not asking you to blast it all over social media, but be honest with your colleagues. So there's some like relay, like, you know, I can relate to you. There's some validation in what I'm
Yes.
going through. And like, let's stop glorifying like hustle culture. You know what I mean? But I feel like we have so much more insight from our own personal stuff that we've experienced, which I do think we'll touch on when we feel a bit more comfortable to share the extent and the severity of what we have gone through. But how are we moving forward?
I think for me, and I know it's also for you, but it's to be more conscious of what you are doing and what you want out of life, and to actually take a step back and look at what's important. There's this analogy where they say, like, this, if you're juggling things, there's a few things in your life that are glass balls, and then there's a few things that are like those rubber ones that will bounce back. So your job, your career, all of those things, if they fall, they'll bounce back up. But things like your family,
Your mental health,
your well-being, that if it falls might bounce back or it might shatter. And only you can emphasize the importance of yourself in your life. Because if you don't care about yourself and if you don't prioritize yourself,
you can't expect other people
no
to.
one else is going to prioritize you.
Yeah.
Like, talking about you and your health, and just to bring it back to that story, was my partner ended up in hospital because of severe ulcers, because of the stress, and like you said, it was a build-up. And he worked through being hospitalized, being weak, and you saw him, and you know what we went through. And this director was like, "What's happening?" And he's like, "I'm waiting for my tests." So the doctors say they don't know. They think it could be ulcers. They think it's stress. Like, I don't know. Like, we're waiting. The response was, "Oh, that's what doctors say when they don't know what to diagnose." Not, "Are you okay? What can I do to help? Is there anything I can take off your plate? I see you're losing weight. When you joined, you didn't look like this. Can I get a team for you?" No, nothing. I want to preface also that also my partner being a top performer, nothing, no ball was dropped. Everything was still delivered on time. Everything was still carried out. Everything was perfect to the T.
To the expense of yourself. To the expense of your mental health, to the expense of your physical health, to the expense of your relationships.
Yes.
Because with me as well, I was like immediate family deaths, and I never dropped the ball, not once at work. But why are we wearing that like an honor badge?
It's not.
It's really not. I'm so
flag.
upset with myself that I didn't take the time to grieve like I should have, because I went straight back into work. And I think I honestly wish that I gave myself as much attention, if not more, to what I put into my job. And I think I realized that my job was becoming my entire personality. And even when it was just the weekend, I didn't want to do anything.
Yeah.
I was like, I just want to sit on this couch and watch TV. And then I used to get so anxious about the time. Like, I would wake up and be like, oh, okay, it's 8 o'clock now in the morning. Let me bath, shower, and then I can relax. And then I look at the time and I was like, oh, it's almost 12. Like, the day is almost over. I don't actually feel relaxed and I need to go back to work tomorrow. Like, it's that anxiety, that dread, that like, oh, I feel like it has taken so much of therapy. It's taken so much of therapy, so much of self-awareness, so much of work to get to this point where I feel like I have non-negotiables. Like I said, I think we both are extremely passionate about what we do.
Yes.
Because I think our work is very purpose driven and we're trying to make a change. So in my work, I do, and I still would like to think I show up as my 150, 200% for my 8 hours. Yes, when there's proposals due, I do put in extra time as I feel necessary. But I've learned to say, you've given me these 4 things. You've asked me to look at all 4 of them, and now you've given me something else. What would you like me to prioritize?
Yes.
Because I'm not turning
You
down.
can't prioritize everything
Yes,
at
I'm
the
not
same
turning
time.
down work. I'm not saying I can't do it. I'm asking you to tell me, because maybe at a higher level you have more insight as what is actually urgent. Give me insight into that as well. Then I can prioritize. And I have a set of non-negotiables. My time with my partner, non-negotiable. Once once he is back at home, because I tend to work from home most of the time, or when we come back from the office on the days I do go to the office, the laptop is off for both of us. That is our time to connect from whatever happened during the day, to speak to each other. That's time for my family. That's time for myself. Gymming, which I have slacked on a bit, but also taking care of your health, non-negotiable.
Yes. Yes.
Freaking negotiable, taking care of your health. So I think you have to, for yourself, like the glass balls, figure out what is your non-negotiables and be strong in your boundary setting. Because at the end of the day, it's a transaction. I signed a contract and you are paying me for my time and my service. And I will honor that and I will be present and I will show up 100%. But you also need to respect me and I need to respect myself enough to tell you these are my boundaries, these are my non-negotiables. And I do feel sometimes you slip back and you just have to catch yourself in those moments being like, I don't really think this is that urgent. It doesn't deserve all of my attention, and then move on with it. But it takes a lot of, especially like the people pleasing, and this is a whole podcast on itself, but also how we have to show up at work as being people of color and having to work sometimes, if not 10 times harder than people to be noticed, to be seen as a high performer or to be seen as adding value. But yeah, I think you have to have a good support system around you, your set of non-negotiables. And I do think that it's going to be our little segment that we hold really close to our heart, because we do want to spread positive messaging on it and do want to provide people with tools on what they can implement, because I don't think we want to lose more people to this.
Yes.
And I think that's also one of the driving forces behind our podcast, is being courageous enough to speak on our truth and to also empower people to do the same, and to create a community where we can validate each other, where we can empower one another to still show up in all facets in life, but also being happy.
Yes.
Because this is our only Well, apart from reincarnation, this is our only life.
That's another podcast.
This is our only life. And I love you always send me those things on Instagram where it's like the whole universe and there's like this one dot and it's like, you are here stressing about PDFs.
Yes.
Like, what are we doing? What are we doing?
What are we doing? I love that perspective.
Yes.
Those videos can just snatch you really quickly.
Yeah.
But just to touch on that, I think I started the Enlightenment Journal, which I
love.
I think,
Yeah.
it's a little bit, I like to do those toolkits because sometimes people like to read, but I want to also bring that into the podcast where we can give those useful tips and like it will be a segment that we continuously grow on.
Yeah.
It's not just a once-off chat. I think we really want to encourage people to please share their stories. So please share your stories. It can be anonymous. You can DM us, you can email us, and if you want us to talk about it, just so people know that they're not alone. And I think that's something we're going to keep ramming into people's heads is that you're not alone. And if you share a story, then it gives someone else that confidence to share their story. And like if I didn't have Yulia and I didn't have her as a sounding board, I would have in many cases thought I was going crazy or thought like, am I the problem?
Yeah.
But the truth is I wasn't the problem.
Well, we were to an extent, but to our own detriment.
Yes.
Not to being emotionally, mentally, physically traumatized.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So yeah, please just engage with us. Like I think I mentioned in the first episode, this is not a podcast where we are divorced from the community. We want to create a movement. We want to create the space that people feel safe, especially to talk about this, which is so close to us.
Because if nobody sees you, we do.
Yes.
We see you. We know how hard it is. We know the amount of pressure, the amount of stress you can be under. And yeah, we just want this to be a safe space. And if you don't have anyone, like you have us.
You have us.
Because we know how important it is to have that support. So yeah, reach out.
Reach out.